WGA strike.
Good.
So they negotiated all the way up until about 11 p.m. on Monday before the WGA was like, done. Sorry.
Yeah. They did release documents showing all of the orders of business that they were not able to agree on, or had just basically been like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
So they've got, so let's start with, they did come to tentative agreements on certain things. Script fees for staff writers, they get that in addition to their weeklies. They increased the spans, extended the spans. They increased the earnings caps. They increased the pilot premiums and the backup script premium. They agreed to pension and health diversions to make sure there was money going to the pension and health fund. And then there was also an agreement on broadcast reruns. So.
Interesting.
That is the stuff that they agreed upon. Woo! In the list that was put out by the Writers Guild, there's a few things where the producers basically gave a counter, and anywhere where they gave a counter, I think they're going to get to some agreement, because it doesn't look like they're super far off in the areas where the Producers Guild was countering, right? So minimums and stuff like that.
Yeah, their percentage rates are definitely very different than what was requested.
2% off. So I think they'll probably get there. The area that's concerning for this particular strike is the areas where the producers were just like, nope, not doing anything.
Right.
We're not negotiating on that, which I think is a bad position for them to take.
Right. I'm sorry. There's a fun fact in chat that I am still trying to process. Fun fact: cows, and I am assuming horses and other animals too, with hooves, can get cavities in their hooves, which does track. It is keratin.
Okay, so here's the ones that I want to focus on. Some of these I think they're going to be able to come to a thing on. Some of these I think are not going to only affect the WGA strike, but SAG-AFTRA, which is the Actors Union, and the Directors Guild are also coming up on contract. And here's the areas that I think are going to bite them. And by that I mean the producers, because I think that SAG and the DGA is going to ask for the same thing. And that's this. They want transparency on streaming numbers.
Which has been a struggle since streaming platforms have become a thing.
Right. Because not only did they only put out numbers when it looks good, but also the way that they classify a view is different per streamer.
It is.
Right? So I know there was some internal documents from Netflix leaked a few years ago where they said they considered a view anything over 2.5 minutes.
They also consider it a view if you specifically sign up and go and watch that show first.
Yes, that's a specific metric that they give their shareholders, because that's first watch, and that's a big one. And that shows them that a specific show is drawing people to the platform.
Which is kind of frustrating as somebody who has had a Netflix account like almost since inception of streaming, but okay.
I think that SAG and the DGA are going to ask for the same thing. I think that the production companies are really nervous about putting those numbers out, because then they have to justify them. And I don't think it's an unreasonable demand, because box office, so just so everybody knows, when box office numbers are reported, it's not the studios or the theaters reporting those.
No.
There is an independent third party who's audited who puts those numbers out. Right? That way everybody's on the same page. Like, we know Mario Brothers made this much money off this many screens, and everything else. Same thing with TV ratings. They have Nielsen, right? And so those numbers have always been out there, and now the
transparent.
The writers and I imagine SAG's going to ask for the same thing. They're like, we want to know how successful these shows are.
Yeah, especially with how much time and energy and money that they are putting into these streaming platforms.
Well, and I think
for exclusives as well.
It affects the residuals.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the issues. The other issue is what they're calling mini rooms. And that has to do with how they're staffing writers' rooms, both pre and post thingy, and they're specifically pre-greenlight, which means before the show is ordered to series.
Right.
How are they staffing the rooms, and how are they paying them?
Right.
Okay. Basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to pay pre-greenlight rooms on a daily rate. So they can be like, here, pump out like these scripts in 4 days, and then we're done paying you, right? And what the Writers Guild is asking for is, if you're going to do a pre-greenlight writers room, you have to guarantee it's going to last 10 weeks, is what they're asking for right now. Which
I think is a very reasonable ask.
Yes, I don't think it's unreasonable at all. Post greenlight rooms, 3 weeks per episode, up to a max of 52. Half the minimum staff must be employed through production. One writer must be employed through post production. And you're gonna notice a theme with all of these, and at least I did. It's all TV. It's not the movie side.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Right? The feature film side is not having the problem that TV is. And then the other big one is these straight to streaming ones.
Yes.
Right? And they have an acronym they use, is the HBS VOD, which is the high budget stream video on demand.
Wow, they really need to work on their acronyms.
Yes.
So, with all of this said, it is a workers' strike, and they are very much asking for things that are reasonable from companies that are paying their CEOs
a lot of money. Mm-hmm.
It is important to remember as we go into this kind of it's gonna be a drought, right?
Well, so you're not gonna see. Let's talk about that. So late night shows, they're already off. They're done.
Right.
And a lot of that also has to do with the fact that the hosts of these, like Colbert and Seth Meyers, are members of the WGA because they started as writers and they're still members of the WGA. And so guess what?
And friends.
And they're friends, but they're members of the WGA and they can't cross the picket line. So the late night shows are done because those writers are all gone.
They are still paying their
staff. And that's to be lauded, is that Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, all these folks are being like,
but
hey,
not
look,
Jimmy Fallon.
I have the money. I will cover the stuff. So
enjoy the beach, snail. Get some sun from me, please.
Yep. So those would be the first ones. The rest of the current TV seasons on broadcast are already written, and they're probably in the can by now. They're done. So you will see the rest of the current broadcast season go. This actually takes the leverage off it removes some leverage that the writers should have because they're not doing this mid-season like they did last time.
I think they probably timed it that way for a reason.
And I think that's bad for the writers because they're not going to really be in a jam on the fall programming until probably July, right? So the next thing you're going to see is delays in fall TV programming.
Yes.
Right? Then you'll start seeing movie delays. Yes. Now, some stuff is continuing. So House of the Dragon, the scripts are done, and so they're in production right now. They're going to remain in production, though that may change if SAG goes on strike.
Yes.
If the strike goes on a while, we should see a huge move to YouTube and streaming content. We saw that last time with YouTube. A lot of YouTube stuff came up during the thing. YouTube chat, we'll see the drought in 2024. You're mostly going to see the TV drought late this year, and then you'll see movie droughts in late 2024, which really sucks because we just kind of got past the COVID drought.
Yep.
And we're starting to get like a decent production schedule for them going. But yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
I mean, why work if you can't be paid?
SAG is standing in solidarity, to answer a question from chat, SAG is standing in solidarity with the Writers Guild. Now, they are still under contract for another month or two. So they're still working because they're under contract. But like Rob Lowe was out on the picket line. A bunch of like pretty big name actors have been out on the picket line going, there you go. So the writers going in and making money through streaming services, that's such a long-term process that there's that. And the other thing, too, is if anybody crosses the line and sells out to the production studios,
they are not able to join the WGA.
They may not be able to join the union later.
Like, that is explicitly stated. If you cross the picket line and you are a scab, you cannot be part of this union.
The first AI-written movies are going to suck, and I'm here for it. So that's actually another one of the big things that they're trying to isolate, which is, how do we handle AI? Right? I like noodles, Joker. The writer's current proposal, and again, keep in mind, in any negotiation, you make your big proposal, they make their big proposal, and you start working toward a middle ground.
Yes.
The writer's proposal is you can't use AI.
Which I applaud them for, especially because this is a creative outlet.
I don't think they're going to get that completely. Now, they'd worked out some stuff before it had been reported on crediting for stuff.
There have been issues with crediting for a very long time.
Yeah, but I'm saying when it comes to AI, I thought they had worked a lot of that out. Now the producers, their counter proposal was silly, and that's, we'll do a yearly meeting on advancement in technology. You're going to have to do better than that. At least they didn't completely like blow it out of the water. So, yeah, we'll see how long this goes on. The last writer strike lasted 100 days.
Yep.
And again, it killed a bunch of shows.
Yep. Heroes.
Quantum of Solace, actually, was one of the movies that got messed up by the writer's strike last time.
That explains a lot.
Because they didn't have the writers to do rewrites on set.
Yeah.
I understand what the writers are saying. The production companies really are trying to push this toward more of a gig-style economy, and it's not good for the writers, and they're fighting very, very hard. It is collective action. Again, I think if you see SAG go on strike in a month or two, they're in trouble. And I think it will actually drive them back to all the tables. SAG going on strike will shut down everything. Now, the other thing, so we may see some problems sooner, and I'm waiting to see later this week whether this happens. So the Teamsters Union, which does a lot of the logistics and transportation and everything else for the movie business, they've said they won't cross the picket line.
Damn straight.
Oh.
And so
damn straight.
If the Teamsters won't cross, it will shut down a lot more productions very, very quickly. So we'll find out.
I am excited to see some positive resolution from the collective action that is being taken. It will be interesting to see, especially as there is a lot of news coming out about AI in general, how this affects how we interact with AI as well.
Yeah. It's gonna be really interesting. Yes, let chaos reign. That's what it's gonna be. I imagine that they're gonna be on strike at least a week or two before anything starts moving.
Most likely. I mean, especially because they are working against people who are not necessarily happy to part with the money that they are making.
And I think both sides are going to try and play. Yeah, they're going to try and play a PR game right now.
Which is why it's important to follow the social medias of the writers who are on strike.
And yeah. And again, they've been pretty transparent, so you can go to Adam Conover. He actually screenshotted the stuff that got put out by the guilds and the AMPTP.
He also called out the CEO of CNN.
So what unions are standing in solidarity is pretty much everybody, but the Teamsters are saying they won't cross the line, so we're going to see what that does to... what's the average salary for a writer? It depends, and the problem is that the salaries have actually been dropping with streaming because the residual payments are very, very different. So not very much, and actually their salary cap is pretty low for TV writers, for Hollywood. So I think they said that 49% are at guild minimum right now.
Good Lord.
So these are definitely, like, the writers are not the ones living in the Hollywood Hills and like in Bel Air and stuff like that. You know, your average TV writer probably makes like for a late night show, probably makes between $60,000 and $75,000 a year. Yeah. And that's because they work, 52 weeks a year, 50 weeks a year because it doesn't have seasons and stuff like that.
Yep.
Guild minimum I want to say is 40. So not very much.
And that is not very much.
Especially in Los Angeles.
Cost of living, yeah, not at all.
Especially in LA. Variety reports.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
41,773.
Writer producer.
That's writer producers. So those are showrunners.
Yeah.
So that's even the boss of
TV
the show.
work does pay very little. So, little story. My wife, who some of you have met, she used to work in television.
Oh, no shit.
She worked for the NBC affiliate here. 3,575 per week. Yeah, that's not very much money. Especially since you're not. You got to remember, you got to look at it like freelancers almost, right? Because you're not working every week of the year.
Right.
Right.
Well, and they're trying to force it more into freelancers.
Yeah, and they're trying to do more of the day rate stuff so they can pay them for a few days and then dump them. Anyway, my wife used to work in television, and I will tell you just one of the things about television. One of the reasons she left television, it's not that she didn't love her job and she didn't love working in TV. It's unless you are on-air talent or like certain senior management.
You are garbage.
You don't make anything. Most of the people working at a TV station make crap. Right.
Tracks.
She was making, I think at the time, if memory serves, about $33,000 a year. There you go. Writers Guild of America Professional Writer. So it's in the chat. 44 to 63. These are not people who are like, I make $1 bajillion. Give me more. It's not that much.
Comparatively with the cost of living is, again, like that is
Los Angeles and stuff.
Literally fucking peanuts.
Yeah. So there you go.
Oh, it says here on the internet that you haven't liked or subscribed or hit the notification bell. And that if you don't, the IRS is going to punch you in the dink.